Going live. Hi, everybody. Welcome to week 4 of Demystifying Esports for Cinemas. We've had an amazing couple of weeks, great speakers, great sessions. I get constantly like, hey, can you send me the link? Because a lot of the cinemas are busy, but they have asked for the recording. So we know we're getting a lot of traction from people who are really interested in understanding what gaming could be like in regards to the cinema. This week, we had to really, I hate to say it, we had to turn a couple of fantastic speakers down because we only had enough time to put a few on the speaking block. But we have one of the top publishers in our industry. We've got one of the broadcast solutions. We've got another program for young people in high schools. And we have a subscription program. So we've got a lot of amazing speakers who can tell you a lot about what they do and how it applies to cinema. So I'm going to keep it short today. I'll tell you all a lot more as the weeks go on about our future workshop, our alliance, and our league. That's the work in progress. So without further ado, I'm going to hop off camera, and we will let our moderator, Ree Spartan, take over and introduce Todd from Hi-Rez. Bye, everybody.
Thank you so much, Heather. Hey, Todd, how you doing? Everyone, this is Todd. He is the co-founder of Hi-Rez Studios. They've made the big hits such as SMITE and Realm Royale, right? Dang.
That's right.
So, introduce the theaters to the publisher aspect, or the publisher side, and the relationships that they'll have to build going forward.
Cool. Thanks. Hey, everybody. So, as Reese said, my name's Todd Harris. 14 years ago, co-founded a developer and publisher called Hi-Rez Studios. So, our most popular game is called SMITE. We have another game, Paladins, that's very popular, and Realm Royale, which is in the emerging category of Battle Royale games. So I really wanted to hit 3 topics, and before we open it up and have some other awesome panelists join. Number 1, how a publisher thinks about esports. Number 2, tournament organization, because we have a sister company that organizes tournaments. And then number 3, our direct experience with cinemas, because we've done a few different events with cinema. So first part is publisher. Again, as background, our games, both SMITE and Paladins, have about 30 million registered players. So they're definitely big hits. The game SMITE has grossed over $400 million. So again, very successful franchise. And both of those games have grown through esports. So publishers look at esports primarily as a way to drive engagement back to the game. You can think of it as having marketing return for the game because...
What is it required to get the game, and what are the positives and the negatives of how they may release it?
Yeah, so, what it requires for a tournament operator is really a license, to use the game. And different publishers have different perspectives on licensing. But one of the things I like about this consortium that's coming together is it can provide a solution to that for cinemas that want to work with games and wouldn't have to navigate those issues directly with the publisher. But at the end of the day, if there's a business opportunity being built and it uses game IP, there needs to be consideration with the publisher. And that's why, I'm happy that we're engaging early with this group because we have that experience with SMITE and Paladins. And it's also something where we can show a template to other publishers and have other games participate.
What do you look at as a publisher when someone's asking for your game? Is it about exposure? Is it about attendance? Like, what are the important categories?
Yeah, I mean, it's ultimately either exposure or the business return, right? So if some event is going to be highly monetized through ticketing or media rights or advertising or sponsorship, and if that's a big part of the partnership, then the publisher will generally want to participate in that. So having that part of the platform is important. But depending on the game, some will participate just based on engagement because it's basically marketing for the game. So Let me give you a couple
Please.
examples, and maybe I'll transition to the sister company, which is called Skillshot. So Skillshot doesn't make games; it does tournament organization for games. And so some examples of events that we've done: the World Championship for SMITE, which has $1 million prize pool, has paid out more than $10 million to players historically, and has about 4,000 people at its live championship. That's one example that we've done. Another example would be the Overwatch League homestand events. So Overwatch used to do all their competition in their Burbank studio. Now they're moving to a home and away model, and they did their first event in Dallas. The second event was in Atlanta, which is where we're based. So we worked with that team, the Atlanta Reign, to host a homestand event. Again, that's a live event, over 3,000 Atlanta fans cheering over 2 days, and we did that activation for them. A third example would be the mobile game Brawl Stars. That is the latest game from Supercell, a very popular game. They are doing a world championship that'll be in Seoul, Korea in November. And Skillshot's doing all of the online qualification and broadcast in multiple regions: North America, Europe, Latin America, for that game, which is probably one of the largest online tournaments that's ever been executed. Thousands of teams are signing up because it's a popular mobile game. So we've got a lot of experience across different genres and different content. When it comes to cinema.
Yeah, that's what I was going to go towards, exactly.
So first off, I mean, theaters are a great venue for esports. The size is right, the support of having a screen and the seating, the fact that it's a multi-use venue and is not completely dependent on esports revenue, but that can be complementary. I think there's a lot of things that they have going for it, which is why, you know, we partnered early to kind of try to understand what formats work. So I can talk about two things we've done. One being a watch party, the second being a grassroots activation and play at the theater. So in terms of watch party, a couple years now with the game SMITE and the SMITE World Championship, we had Coca-Cola come in as a partner and basically through sponsorship offer to a set of their partnered cinemas the opportunity for SMITE fans to see the World Championship being broadcast in the cinema if they couldn't make it to Atlanta to the live championship. So, you know, I think it was around 40 to 50 theaters in the United States. I know there were 2 in LA, but general markets where a fan would go and watch the 3-hour SMITE finals, enjoy their beverage, buy some concessions, get some great swag, both physical and exclusive digital items from the publisher, in this case Hi-Rez, that draws people in, and have a social experience that was very experiential. And in that case, again, it was Coke offering value to their partner theaters, and that was their main goal. And I think that goal was accomplished, and the theaters also got revenue that participated in it and could build some, you know, some awareness that they're into esports and gaming. That's example number one. Example number two was we worked last year, I think it was last December, with the Chinese theater in LA. So that particular venue, not a chain. And that venue's been equipped with kind of the 4D technology. So it's a very experiential sort of theater with vibrating seats and, you know, a lot of kind of effects that the audience can enjoy. And in that case, we worked to have it be actually gamers coming in and playing. It was 2 versus 2. That was the game Paladins. So you could buy a competitor ticket or you could buy a spectator ticket, and you would come in and you would play the game. And that particular theater has a stage equipped with esports computers. So it was a elimination style bracket where the ultimate winners walked away with a large screen TV and some cash. And again, everyone who participated also got some nice virtual items within the game that they love. So
How long was that building up for until it became a live event where people were together? How long had the tournament been going on online?
Yeah, that particular one was simply a one-day standalone event. Now, again, it was part of a game and an esports ecosystem that had been developed for 2 years. So there's professional teams that compete. These professional teams have, big backers, including like there's a team that plays the Pittsburgh Knights that's backed by the Steelers. There's a team that plays that's backed by the Philadelphia 76ers. So there's a lot of legitimacy.
And how feasible
in the scene
was that for the theaters to want to bring in a team?
Sorry, what was that, Reese?
How feasible is it for the theaters to want to bring in a team?
Oh, I mean, teams and team meet and greets work really well. The fact that fans can meet their idols or play alongside their idols. That works really, really well. It's just it more is just a matter of where the theater's located and where the team is located. In our owned games like Smite and Paladins, the teams come from all over the world. They happen to reside and live in Atlanta, where we do the organization centrally, but it varies by game. Most of the teams in North America tend to be located in LA. And again, a set now that we're building on the East Coast, but some of them are global. So it's simply a matter of, weighing the travel costs to get them in, but it almost always is good return because there's fandom there. I mean, again, imagine you're getting to play basketball alongside LeBron and you get the same level of excitement when you can play Counter-Strike or Smite or League of Legends alongside the best in the world. So, I think that those were I'm sure there'll be questions later, but in terms of how a publisher thinks about it, our experience as a tournament organizer and what we've done in theater, that gives you a sense of what we've done.
And there you go, loving the message stream right there. So I'm actually going to use this time to bring in Harish, or Hat. He is the founder of Influx Worldwide. They are a very large subscription-based company and a full-service digital media agency. So Hat, hit on your camera there.
Hey guys.
How you doing, Hat?
Good, thank you, Erez.
So Hat, let's just get right into it. Do you want to go into the 4 key pieces of subscriptions?
Yeah, so I'll just give a bit of background before that. So where we're coming from is we've built a subscription program for the cinema industry specifically because we've seen, what's come and gone, and I think we've identified what consumers want, what's right for cinemas and studios, and at the same time, taken into consideration mistakes made by other players before. And so we've built a subscription engine that's specific to the industry purely because we've been a technology services provider to the cinema industry for over 12 years now. And having worked with about 30 exhibitors across multiple tech platforms, and one of our key secret sauces is having a middleware platform that helps multiple software systems integrate easily into front-end applications like websites, apps, and kiosks. We've got
really quick. Let's just slow down and kind of just make sure we break that down for the theater so you can have multiple services. In what way?
Sorry, I know. I should slow it down.
It's just a teaching experience.
I know. We have this tech platform that helps bring in multiple software systems. So, and exhibitors will get this. So you may have a Vista ticketing system. You may have Aloha or Micros running F&B, or maybe you're running Vista for F&B. You may be running a different CRM system. You may have, SVS for gift cards. You could have Aloha for gift cards. But our middleware helps sort of bring all of that together and have a seamless customer experience across your website, apps, and kiosks.
Okay.
So with all of that tech expertise is how we've approached our subscription program, because we believe the subscription program needs to tie in really deeply into your existing tech systems. We've also built the platform to be extremely flexible and extensible. And I think that's where the esports fit comes in beautifully. It's no secret that these days you have gamers who they absolutely prefer subscription as a model. Almost every major studio today offers a subscription program. I mean, led by the big four, which is Sony, EA, and Microsoft, big three, and they've thrown up some pretty startling numbers. As in, if you look at ever since they offered subscription, they've found that gamers actually play more, they play longer, and they spend more money. So it's clearly the commercial model of choice for gamers, and which is why I think bringing down the barrier to coming into the cinemas to either watch or maybe later play esports is going to be key. It's also going to be very interesting to see how this can be bundled in, and I think the more critical piece is going to be, like Todd mentioned before, about building relationships with publishers. Our platform's inherently built to support multiple stakeholders. So it's not as if we run
So if
this.
a Hi-Rez wanted to hypothetically want to go with a theater, you could help them weave that into the subscription platform?
That's correct. So we could actually, our system would bifurcate revenue specific to which watchers or gamers actually played or watched a particular high-risk game at a particular exhibitor, and make sure that any profits that arose from those particular gamers would be distributed back to the gamer, to the publisher, as well as to the exhibitor. So yeah, it's fairly cool that way. So that would allow publishers to get a pound of the flesh, exhibitors to get a pound of the flesh, and the alliance, of course, will bring all of this together.
Very cool. Anyway, so were you able to hit the 4 key pieces on that? Because I know you had your 4 key pieces to subscriptions.
Yeah, I think the first is subscription itself. Second was single sign-on, and I know this was brought up in a earlier session as well. I think it was week 2 when tournaments spoke about single sign-on. The key for single sign-on is not just for a subscriber to be able to play across multiple cinemas, but also to be able to use that particular sign-on across multiple touch points. Like, I know John, who's going to speak a little later, which is and he's from Mixer. They would love for some sort of flexibility, for a subscriber who has access to esports in cinemas to also be able to either redeem something on their Mixer platform or vice versa. And which is why having a single sign-on that goes just beyond being able to log on to multiple platforms is going to be really important, and that's how we've built our single sign-on for Infinity, which is what the subscription platform is called. The next really key piece, and again something that was brought up by Tournament in week 2, was the loyalty component. Now it's very cool to offer loyalty rewards or dollars against gameplay or gameplay points, but it isn't really into the exhibitor's business models, because for an exhibitor, a reward point is actual money. It's money value. So to be able to actually give out reward dollars for gameplay points is going to be a little hard to bite that bullet. But the way we're envisioning building sort of loyalty system, and the advantage being Infinity as a subscription platform is already integrated in with Aloha Loyalty and Vista Loyalty, and that covers almost 90% of exhibitors in the US. What we're looking to achieve is to keep the monetary value paid by a subscriber, which is for their monthly subscription, and translate that into reward points, and take away all the other forms of engagement. So whether it's gameplay points or whether it's social sharing or content creation, and create a gamified loyalty system that resides outside of today's conventional loyalty programs. So it could relate to like, for example, we could write on the badges concept, which is huge for gamers, right? I mean, just creating avatars and profiles and badges specific to specific locations of cinemas, I think could be hugely powerful. So it's not just about renewing a subscription month on month, but it's also about constantly engaging with the title, with the gamers as at the cinema location that could add up to your badge or to your avatar. So that's the way.
Doing well in a theater, like, could there ever be like a reward or like a Pokemon Stadium badge in a sense?
Yeah, absolutely, and that's where I guess publishers and exhibitors can get creative, and they can do whatever they like, and there's unlimited monetization opportunity right there.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'm actually going to use that time. You can stay on if you'd like, have it. I'm going to bring on John Chapman.
Mm-hmm.
John, if you're here, I saw you just joined in a little bit ago.
Let's see.
I'll try and go off real quick.
It's not giving me the option to turn my camera on.
You should be able to now.
I'm working on it.
Mason, you got yours going?
We're good.
Oh, there you go.
Got it. I'm in there.
There he is. There's Mason too. All right. So really quick, we're going to start off with John Chapman. I'm sure, as all of our viewers have heard recently, there was a big acquisition of the biggest streamer in the world right now, Tyler Ninja Blevins, is that his last name? And he just switched over to the company Mixer, which was founded by our friend here, John Chapman. So, John, thank you so much for joining us.
All right. Just to be clear, I didn't found it. I'm just a partner on the site. Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't want anybody to be, that to escalate to a point where I couldn't take it back anymore.
So you own the world. Yeah, okay.
So, yeah, Ninja came over recently.
And where you guys brought Mixer to?
I think it was about 3 years ago that it was founded and Microsoft acquired it because it was formerly known as Beam. And after they acquired it, it's just been going, more and more up. It's been growing more. And with Ninja coming over, a lot of the other big Twitch streamers have also come over because Twitch has been around for maybe 10 years now. And that was like the go-to for streaming. That's where everybody streamed. There was no competitor. Facebook threw it in a little bit. Like, you can stream on YouTube, but like, kids don't go to YouTube to watch streams. They go to YouTube to watch videos. Mm-hmm. But that was also a big thing with you guys were talking about esports, is that every single person who competes in esports is a streamer. That this is what an esports person is. Like, everybody streams because they're not always competing. Even if they're practicing and they're streaming. So I feel like with Microsoft or Mixer growing as fast as it is, and all the opportunities that are out there and all the things that they're implementing in, and all the streamers that are coming over from Twitch, I think that Mixer is in a perfect position for something like this.
Very good. So how did you guys make it successful?
I think that the difference, what made it so great, is that you can actually talk to streamers. Because if I know a lot of people who are going to watch this, I know it's being recorded, but a lot of them are new to streaming. But if you were to go on Twitch and watch the chat, it gets to a point where it's just going so fast with emotes or just spam that most of the time this is what you see. Yeah, it's great, chat. Yep. There's no interaction, they're not talking. They're not having a conversation about the game or getting to know the person. And that's where Mixer came in. And then they also have FTL, which stands for faster than live. And so where I met, I also met my girlfriend on streaming as well. I just recently moved here. So streaming has done a lot for me. It's also opened up a lot, like with Todd and Hi-Rez.
Can you just help the theaters understand the world of streaming? Because I think it's just really easy to get like the negative context of just like people in a dark room and a computer, but it's really more of a community.
Yeah, it definitely is. Even when I'm not streaming, I'm on Discord, and I think that you guys talked a bit about that before in the past and the other talks. It's a lot more than just a chat service, but just touching on the chat service, if I'm not online, I'm still like in contact with them. They tell me about things that are going on in their life. If they want to share their streams, we share pictures and videos, and we're always talking. And when I went to PAX East in Boston not too long ago, I met maybe 6 or 7 people from my community there.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's a lot that goes into it. And yes, like I'm here just me, but I'm not ever alone. Like I'm always talking to somebody on the headset or I'm talking to somebody in the stream. Like it's a very interactive thing.
What do theaters get from that, and how could they pursue using it?
I think that, as I said before, with the esports and the streamers, I think that if you were to set up something where, because you asked a question about bringing the teams to the theaters, which I think is a possibility. Granted, they do a lot of practice and there's a lot of events going on, but I think that would still be really cool. And even if you couldn't get the whole team, you could get a player from the team if they lived in the area, or a streamer, like a notable person. Like for me, like doing that kind of stuff, we're always looking for those kinds of things to meet new people, to make new connections. We're always looking for more stuff. So it wouldn't be very hard to reach out if Mixer was involved, to throw something in their Discord and say, hey guys, we're doing an event this weekend in Charlotte, North Carolina. If any of the partners there want to sign up, you better believe that there's going to be at least 5 partners to sign up for that. Like it's going to happen. It's not going to be a reach.
I haven't really asked you this question, but just kind of coming up now. How can the theaters stream if they, without a personality, if there isn't a face that's always there, like a personal stream, how can they do it as well? Would it have to be the guests who come in and play in the LAN center? Could you maybe stream like live events in like the theater portion?
Well, they've done this. Mixer has a way to do co-streams, kind of like what we're doing right now, but it would be live with no delay at all. With the chat, like this could be Mixer, the same setup, and they've done things like this in the past because they did things with the Microsoft stores. So a lot of the partners would do streams and tournaments, like tournaments I've competed in, and you could go to the Microsoft store and compete in the same tournament with us. So they would be streaming the store, we would be streaming ourselves, and it would be all one thing.
Hey, Reese.
Yes.
Hey, it's Todd. Can I comment on that briefly?
I was going to talk about the SPL thing as well.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
I'll throw it back to you, but just on that one point, because I think it's a huge opportunity. I mentioned the Paladins event that we did at the Chinese Theater in LA. And the way we did that was a combination of local and global with remote broadcast. So some of the technology that we've developed at Skillshot combined with just the way live streaming works, as John was mentioning on Mixer and Twitch is similar. So we had play at the theater. We had kind of like a man on the street camera at the theater that was able to show the faces of the competitors and the winners. And then we used our technology to have all of the production done remotely. We've got I'm within a 16,000 square foot custom built esports production facility. And that's where we have commentators in suit and tie, motion graphics, all instant replay, all of the elements that make a video game look like the NBA or the NFL come out of this facility. And so that technology allowed the theater to have activation and then also to have exposure globally via a platform like Mixer or platform like Twitch or something else. So that template and technology worked very, very well, and it's additional eyeballs. So for any sponsor that's involved, they are getting a broader audience and exposure. So anyway, it was a pretty cool set of tech, and now
thank you.
Yeah. I think that's where Mixer comes in with that as well. And what I was going to say about the SPL is that they do the league stuff all the time on the SMITE channel, and they do the commentary. They'll cut to the people at the desk, and then they'll have the people talking over the gameplay. So there's a lot of possibility with something like that as well if somebody were doing a tournament. And at the end of the day, all these tournaments, if you go to them, are essentially a theater. I mean, there are people on a stage, but it's a big place where people are sitting, and they're not all there to look at the people on the stage. They're looking at the big screen that's above them, which is essentially a theater. Yes, the Smite Pro League. Sorry, I should have clarified.
Also, just really quick, since he's been on the screen for a little, everyone. This is Mason Mulino from High School Esports League. I hope I pronounced it right. Mulino, yes?
Yeah, you got it good. Yeah, Molino.
So they have a high school esports league that is from Alaska all the way across the country, and you even have a spot in Puerto Rico. Is that right?
Yeah, we're kind of all over the place.
So can you
In
break
North
down
America.
you guys
Yeah.
a little bit for the crowd?
I'm sorry?
Can you break what you guys are down a little bit for all the viewers?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so think of high school esports league as kind of the same structure as traditional sports, but we kind of go year round. We have the ability to do stuff in the off season. So we have 2 seasons during the school year, the fall and the spring. Those are the big ones. And then we have a winter and a summer. Those are the opens. They're a little less structured. We've been doing this for about 7 years now. The past 3 or 4 years have been more structured. We're partnering directly with high schools. So that means they have a teacher there for oversight, and the principal or the administration has given approval or buy-in. We've done that in about 1,600 high schools to date. We'll probably break 2,500 by the end of the year, maybe more. That's about 60,000 students on the platform right now. We run tournaments or seasons for about 9 or 10 games usually per major or per open.
That's awesome. So, what do you guys have anything that you would be able to offer the theaters? Are you looking for anything right now?
Yeah, so we've been actually working with Microsoft on a program called like an HSCL approved location. It kind of gives our stamp of approval on there. We are a STEM.org certified organization. We have a gaming curriculum that is taught in high schools. So it's kind of a good thing for parents if they want to leave their kids somewhere. They know that they're in good hands. It also comes with things like free match day. So if a location wants to be an HSCL approved spot, our teams can then come in and play a match there, and then they'll stay kind of and play afterwards. No, not not Tinder for gamers. No.
So, did you guys ever use Twitch, or did you stream ever, or is it all just for the local?
So yeah, so for us as an organization, we're not really too concerned about the broadcasting side. We do that as a benefit to our students to kind of give them something to put on their reels to get college scholarships. But I think that we see a lot of our students are interested in other things instead of just competing. So we have analysts, managers, secretaries, presidents, and a lot of it's production, streamers. I'd say the vast majority of them are interested in streaming. And so I think what John and Todd were saying earlier, there's a lot of synergy there with our user base coming into the theaters in that aspect.
Are they interested in? Do they seem interested in the production side of it, of putting on events, or is it more?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of that. So that's actually covered in our curriculum. The streaming event planning side of things is actually covered in something that can be taught for course credit in high schools now.
So just hypothetically, if we wanted to moving forward, could it be feasible for the theaters to offer a program to use high schoolers to offer them credits to help them produce or cast? Or?
It's possible there may be a way to get credits. I don't know if that's as important right now. I think that having that maybe like a camp or something that you could put on your resume or your college application, I think that would be pretty impactful because there's not really an outlet for that right now.
Very true. Also, I just want to commend you, while doing my research on you. You guys have quite the Reddit page. People use you guys all the time to find fellow gamers, and I just thought that was really inspiring to see.
Yeah, like John was mentioning earlier too, we have a pretty massive Discord as well. It's probably one of the bigger ones on there, and that's where a lot of our students kind of stay in contact with each other.
Hey Harish, is there any way I can get you to jump back on the camera? Harish, you here? There it is. There you go, my friend. How you doing? So I just thought I'd bring you back in because we just brought up Mixer and High School Esports League, and you were talking about the synergy that you can do with your subscription programs, and I was wondering if you could work off of any of this.
Yeah, no, I was actually thinking ahead when I knew that I was going to have these two gentlemen on the call. I was wondering, how is it that today high school gamers pay for their gaming experiences? Do they buy it online, or do they pay cash, or how do they have access to some, or do they just charge their parents' credit cards? How does it work?
It's kind of a combination of all of those. Not really the cash thing. I guess they pay their teachers, and then the teachers give it to the school, and they pay us. So in that sense, yeah. But yeah, all three. I mean, it's a combination. It really just depends.
Because I think then I guess would it make sense to perhaps have a institutional subscription that a school would perhaps purchase and then nominate an X number of students every month or every quarter? How do you see that working?
So right now we have a proprietary tech platform that kind of manages all of our users. It also manages our tournaments, match chat, score reporting, all of that stuff. And the way we do it is you pay for a slot. So if a student moves or gets sick or can't compete for some reason, you can replace them with a substitute.
Right, but then the payment is by the teachers or the school, right? It's not the student directly.
It's about half and half right now. We're seeing it trend more towards the school.
John, do you see any ways of including a subscription package that could help you guys?
I mean, like we were talking about before, setting up something to, I guess, like if you were to purchase like a ticket, that having something to be redeemable on Mixer, like with the packages that they're working on with Game Pass and the subscriptions with Xbox Live, things like that could also go with Mixer. I'm not really sure. I mean, these are just ideas that I'm throwing out there that could be potential, ideas.
The Xbox advertising has been so great by you guys because I myself I game on Xbox, and every time I ever turned it on, I know Ninja is currently streaming at that
right. Point. And that's smart for them to do. I mean, he's the biggest streamer in the world right now, so of course they're push that as much as you possibly can.
Yeah, definitely. Sorry, 1 second.
But I also think it's important to note, like I said before, that a lot of these events, like Smite's a perfect example, just like looking at some of their schedules, 1 p.m., 11 a.m., like these events happen during the day. These aren't like 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night events. These are things that are happening during the day in some of the slower hours. Of course, people go into these theaters during the daytime, but the majority of people go to the theaters at night, in my personal experience in my life anyways.
Right now, firsthand experience to every single cinema that's listening right now, the idea of having any type of additional foot traffic during the day would bring them the biggest joy ever.
Yeah,
I guess.
Go ahead.
Sorry, it might be important to note we do play our matches at 4 or 5 p.m. So that's, I guess in that matinee period.
Yeah. And I mean, a lot of these, I was going through looking at like the league schedule. A lot of them is 1 a.m., 6 a.m., 4 a.m. So even if some of these things were happening across the pond in Europe, then you would still catch a lot of the stuff, in the morning time.
And Corey's point as well in our chat, it's Monday through Thursday as well, the weekend, which is also the office.
And you guys, Todd, this question is for all of you. Could you see kind of creating something that's online that ends up into a live LAN center type of tournament that you would tell a gamer every other Monday is this tournament is the finals, giving them time to build up something online that came to offline, and tell them it's on Monday and get them accustomed to that? I mean, do you guys kind of set that all up? I mean, I don't understand how tournaments get set up, but is that something that can be done from
UMG possibly?
Yeah, and any type of tournament organizer? Yeah.
Something that has happened in the past that they have done is, like I was speaking before, they'll have these tournaments at the Microsoft stores, right?
Yeah.
And once you win at whatever store, the Charlotte store, the Ohio store, whatever store you win at, then you move on to the next round. And eventually they will do these tournaments, towards the end online, because all of the tournaments are done online anyways.
Yeah.
For the most part. Unless you go to like these big events like the Fortnite World Series or whatever, where they rent out an entire stadium. Those are LAN tournaments. But all these ones that are happening throughout the year leading up to those things, like a lot of that stuff is done online.
So this is Todd, if I can jump in on that one, since we do a lot of tournaments. I think John described it well. Just people should think about tiers of tournaments. So Tier 1, which is the least expensive to execute, is an online tournament, right? So players don't have to travel. They play from their home or their neighborhood LAN center. There may or may not be broadcast associated with that, right? It might be on Mixer, it might be on Twitch, or maybe not. So that's Tier 1.
Yes.
Tier 2 is LAN, where the players are actually in a physical environment, and that's higher competitive integrity and higher production value. So when a lot of prize money is on the line, it's usually on LAN, actually to prevent cheating, believe it or not, because if you're putting up $10,000 or $100,000, you have to watch that. And it also minimizes latency, so everyone has the same ping, which is important for competitive integrity. So I'm not on a slower connection. So that's tier 2.
To that point, and that number 2, if we were to also involve one of the stat companies that would then keep stats, would that be the place that would be important because they'd be live?
Either on all of these tiers, there's typically stats that come out of it because there's API and technology to let you get the equivalent of the box score. So you can have stats in any case. And then tier 3 is the competition is live, and also there's a live audience, as John said. So again, just taking the game SMITE, we have all those levels. There's online competition that happens every single week that people are trained. Then there's also broadcast of that. Then there's tier 2, players are in Atlanta, and as John knows, every Thursday and Friday, there's at a set time regular content for people to watch. It's just like NBA. You have a favorite team, when they're playing, and that regularity of play is important, and regularity of broadcast is important for the fans. That's how you develop fandom. And then at the end of the year, we have a live event. It'll be in November if anyone wants to come see it. 40,000 people at DreamHack. Giant stage, crazy energy, reminds you of like the best concert and the best sporting event you were ever at. And that's really where you start to figure out what esports is about. Because even if you have no idea what's going on, and you'll just get caught up in the energy and people with their thunder sticks and with their team name on their bear shirt, chest painted, face painted. Half the people will have tattoos of SMITE characters on their body, permanently inked, because this is a lifestyle and passion for them. And that's where you really get that this is the future of sports and entertainment. So there's all those 3 levels, and there's a chance for theaters to participate in all 3.
Right.
This is Hat. I mean, if I could just come into what Todd was just speaking about. So, when he spoke about regularity, right? And I guess that right there is why subscription is so important as a model, because you do not want to be expecting a gamer to buy a ticket every time. That hindrance of having to buy access into your locations. either to play or to watch, needs to go away. And that's why gamers love subscription. They prefer subscription, and I think that's why it also makes sense in order to be able to feed this sort of regularity, to be able to bring in those footfalls on Monday to Thursday, like Corey was talking about, is why you want to take away as much friction as possible from any commercial transactions recurring all the time.
Todd, do you think we can go back and answer that question? Have you ever had an experience, any contractual issues regarding sponsorships, like venues with an exclusive contract with Pepsi, an event sponsorship with Coke?
Yeah, that was a great question. So I think, I mentioned the one watch party set that we did. We actually have done 2 years in North America and 1 year in Europe. So they were really good experiences. That was a case where Coke was the primary partner, and in that case, it was really value to Coke partner theaters. I will say that in general in esports, it's not that us as a publisher or as a tournament organizer has any general exclusivity with sponsors. Usually, sponsors have an exclusive relationship around a particular plank of content, right? Like around, for example, the SMITE Pro League or the Overwatch League. So publishers and tournament organizers are pretty careful to not lock themselves in to a sponsor relationship that's too broad. So it is something that has to be considered, but one of the reasons I'm interested in exploring it with this group is I think it's a broader opportunity than a single soft drink vendor might provide, right? And so I'm looking in general for partnerships that are broader than that and don't have us divide the world so that we're only working with Coke theaters and can't work with Pepsi or vice versa. So hopefully that addressed the question. But if you think about it in general, like sports properties, that's the way you should think about it. If you're working with a premier set of content like Overwatch League or SMITE Pro League or League of Legends, at a league level, they may have some sponsors, the official PC provider or the official credit card provider. It was historically just endemics to the computer and gaming industry, like enthusiast mice. But over the last year, there definitely have been more consumer brands that have come into the space. So it's something for consideration, but it's also a very wide open space right now. Hopefully that addressed the question.
Elias, do you want to go ahead and ask the question here, or do you want to just talk about it offline later? Either way is okay with me.
Up to you can speak about it. If not, if any speaker has anything else that they want to go across or any last questions, this is our last think tank session.
I wanted to go on what Todd was saying about how crazy it gets when, the SMITE Pro League has the finals in Atlanta and all that. Like, this is a very passionate community thing. Like, this is coming from somebody who's watched football, who's played basketball. Like, I've done a lot of sports. I played soccer, and now I do this. Like, this is people are very passionate about this, whether we want to accept that it's going to be the future of sports or not. It's going to make its way. Like, we're talking, this is like a $93 billion business here. Like, it's just growing and growing and growing. And that's what a good thing about Mixer competing against Twitch is that, the competition breeds innovation. It's getting better. Things are getting better. And I think that's where the theaters will come in. Like, these kids love to go to streams together and watch stuff. They like to share YouTube videos. They like to share these experiences. So, like, sitting at your house just watching something might be something for, somebody older like myself. Like, I'm 32. Like, of course I like to watch stuff. Do I occasionally want to go out and, watch things with my friends? Of course. But I think the target is somebody younger than myself, obviously, and they like to experience these things together. So of course they would love to go to a theater and watch these crazy things happen in SMITE or Overwatch or League. and that they can, remember happening together. They can't say something like, "Oh, did you watch last night when, whatever team overtook the other team?" They're like, "Oh no, I missed it. I forgot about that." So having these opportunities to go to these things together is like going to a football game.
Yeah.
I just wanted to get that across, that this is a very passionate community.
Yeah, let me maybe echo some of those.
Go ahead.
I think John mentioned it, but one, gaming and esports combined is already a $140 billion industry. So
More
it's
than I thought.
more than twice as big as box office revenue, but it's also growing on every platform. So what makes it kind of exciting is it continues to grow on PC, not as fast, but it's still growing. It's growing on the video game consoles like Xbox, PlayStation, and Switch. It's growing the fastest on the mobile platform. More than 80% of the revenue on mobile is gaming. And when you have new platforms like virtual reality and augmented reality, gaming is the first application. So it's a very large industry. It's very highly engaged. When I take my kids to a sporting event, a traditional sporting event, they kind of might be there for the food and they're on their phone a lot of the time. But when I take them to a gaming event, they are, by the way, on their phone sometimes, but they're engaged with the content of the game. They're talking with the community about what just happened. They're looking at Twitter. So the engagement level is much higher than traditional sports. And then you're talking about reaching the next generation of consumer because, the sports audience, I love college basketball, but the sports audience is graying. The average viewer of golf is 60. The average viewer of the NFL is over 50. And my favorite sport, college basketball, because I'm a Tar Heel, the average age is 45. And I'm bringing that even higher. So with the esports, the average age is 23. So you're reaching the super coveted demographic, and they're very highly engaged, and it's growing because people don't give up their passion. They don't stop playing. They start watching with their kids the same way I watch basketball with my dad. Now I'm watching SMITE with my son. So anyway, it's definitely a big opportunity. I applaud all you folks that are, getting in early to understand it. So that's what
you want to go
quick. I've had a couple of private texts from somebody who's listening, who's being shy, but they wanted to ask about latency and the IT kind of issues that might happen inside a theater. Does anybody feel confident to maybe comment on that? Maybe Todd, you as a TO?
Yeah, there's definitely IT requirements. I'm not going to be able to comment them in super detail, but certainly if you're generally equipped to deliver live streams today and enabled to deliver live streams today, then you're probably in the ballpark of good shape for a watch party and delivering Twitch or Mixer and having people enjoy that content. If you are playing inside the theater, so not just watching, but actually playing, then there is a set of IT considerations there. You really have two choices. You either put the game server inside the theater and you're playing on a local area network, or the game server is outside the theater where the developer, the publisher has already had it available and you're connecting online the same way you might play from your house. And so again, there is some network requirement there. It's not too extreme, but certainly as a follow-up, that's information that we could provide as far as guidance. The developers very hard to try to make their games, playable on the lowest minimum viability PC, and also to be fairly tolerant around ping and latency. But the more competitive you're positioning it, it's one thing to say this is casual YMCA level play. It's another to say this is the world championship and there's $100,000 on the line. And so the level of latency and the quality of overall equipment can be scaled based on what you're going after.
Todd, do you
If I
think you
could
can record? Oh, please.
just chime in. So, to add to what Todd just said, in most cases, you're going to have a server that's outside of your location, and people are going to be playing on the internet, right? One thing's definitely Wi-Fi is definitely off the table. I mean, it's got to be hardline internet. Wi-Fi just doesn't cut it. That's one. And number two is it's going to have to be dedicated internet pools, which you're going to have to create. I mean, most cinemas have their corporate pool, then they have their last mile connectivity through to their ticketing servers and through their MPLS or closed networks. This is going to have to be outside of that. It's not an extension. You cannot call Spectrum and say, hey, just bump up my bandwidth by another 100 Mbps. You're going to have dedicated internet that runs this, in my opinion. So yeah, I think, and on the subject of latency, I'd encourage whoever's asking that to listen to session 1, where I think that topic was really well covered, especially about how much difference even a millisecond can actually make in professional gaming. And although you and I perhaps may not, feel it, John, for example, definitely would. So, so it's important. Do ask Heather for the copy of the week 1 video and listen into that.
If anyone's able to answer Corey or Moses' questions that are just posted in the chat, they're both very good. Moses needs to know how a small town 2-screen theater is going to be able to pursue this, like a Little for Dummies replay, if anyone has an answer for him.
I mean, I think that maybe testing it in a small theater would be a good idea. It's work. Okay, yeah. But as far as advertising goes, like a lot of what's going on the internet is like Twitter. Twitter is a great place to advertise, but a lot of people are leaning more towards Instagram, and you can sponsor your ads. Like you can promote ads on Instagram or Twitter. A lot of streamers do that. Mixer does that. Like companies do that all the time. So promoting those, and also you would need to lead up to it. It's not something that you could promote a couple days before. You would have to find something that's hot right now. I don't know if Overwatch is. I don't really follow Overwatch, but you could any of these Call of Duty, any of the shooters. Fortnite is always a trusted. Like it's so hot. It's been so hot for 10 seasons now that it's really easy to fall on that for any kind of experimenting because there's always going to be viewers for that. So if there's any kind of event going on for that right now, then I mean, there's large streamers on Twitch that do Fortnite Fridays. There's MLG things that teams are always doing. There's always stuff going on with Fortnite. So if you wanted to experiment with it, in my personal opinion, I would try Fortnite.
And Epic's been pretty mellow about that.
Yeah. I mean, they just have stuff going on all the time. There's always something happening. What else did he ask? Is there a gaming for dummies for us newbies? I mean, if they're not, I don't really know. I'm always open for like if you have specific questions, you can contact me. I'm all over the internet, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. You can come to my Mixer channel. Any way you can want to find to contact me, I can give you all the information. If you have any specific questions, I can help as much as I can to my extent.
What's your
And
mix?
I know I don't know you, Moses, but I'll jump in. We can take this offline. The reason that I put together this think tank and grabbed some of these amazing speakers, and again, I'll tell you, there's a few people that we really wanted to hop on here, but we just ran out of space, was to give you guys just a taste to get your interest and to see if there was really something to take to a larger scale. So we are creating an alliance and then a league. So I'm happy to work with you and give you a little more information because we're all in this together. This is meant to be where we hold hands and we invite gamers to come and experience this type of entertainment at your facility.
Yeah, so
Heather, I can speak what Moses was asking. It may not be on a huge scale, but one of the ideas for having an HSCL approved location is on our app, the geolocation. So they're on there a couple days a week, maybe more, doing their score reporting and finding who they're playing against. One of the things that we were wanting to do is, if you have an event as a location or an organizer, throwing it up on the app, and then that would show to people in the area, hey, this is something that's going on that you can do. And these are going to be high school age students, probably some that have graduated into college as well.
I think the goal of this alliance is to work closely with publishers, whether that's ourselves and also other publishers, right? To be game agnostic and publisher agnostic, because that gives flexibility, because you don't necessarily know the games that will be hot 3 years from now, let alone 5 years from now.
So true.
By having publishers a part of it, they actually are the biggest single way to get the message out, because of course, as a publisher, we know every player who has ever registered in the game SMITE, in the game Paladins. We know based on IP address what market they're in, and we own many marketing channels to be able to communicate with them directly. That includes email, because they've signed up for newsletters. That includes social media, which again, in the case of SMITE, it's more than 1 million on YouTube, more than 1 million on Twitter, more than 1 million on Instagram, more than 1 million on Facebook. So there's many ways to kind of geo-target and support locations. And if you're doing a Fortnite event, well, what better group to talk to than people that play Fortnite? If you're doing a SMITE event, what better group than those who play that? So that's why the publisher is a very important part of the ecosystem, because they'll help fill your theater seats as long as the content and the event makes sense for them and supports their game and the growth of their game.
Yeah, and then being agnostic as well, because different areas will have different game interests. Love it. Heather, do you have your mic or camera available? All right, everyone. Well, thank you all. Thank you, Harish, Mason, John, and Todd for coming out. You guys all did so great. Thank you to all the theaters for joining and letting me moderate this. This was such a great time. I really enjoyed it. And I'm going to hand it off to Heather.
So yeah, guys, I got to say, this has been so much fun. And the reason that I made a courtesy think tank and didn't charge anyone is I thought if I could get great speakers and get great topics covered and invite cinemas to come with no barrier of entry, they'd show up. And you guys have been fantastic. I am going to talk to Reese about doing one more session, maybe skip a week and come back, because there's been so much interest and I'd like to maybe gather around. So I'll send out an email. If you guys think we should do one more, I might do one more, just because it's been so great. And I love all your questions and I love what my speakers have to say. And as we pull together the Alliance, I want to just share with what it's all about and what it can do for everybody from Moses up to the bigger players, because we've been talking to everybody from Cinemark all the way down. And then about the workshop that's coming up, which is amazing. So I think it's sold out. But my goal is to provide an ecosystem for all of you. You matter to me. So again, thank you for showing up every week, and I'm out.